I guess we better talk about Begins here.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, 20th anniversary this year was in
Crazy.
August. Yeah, man, which was is amazing. So um, I can still remember writing those songs, practicing that stuff in the jam room. I remember we were practicing in the valley, and it was a great time, man. It was a fearless group of probably mismatched gents in a room. There was the kindling of the flames of discontent were moving through the band, and relationships were slowly disintegrating as they were being built, which was good because it made for great music and that push and pull effect backwards
Mm.
and forwards. You know what I mean? Like we really mulled over everything. Kurt's got this, OCD when it comes to music. He'll sit there and roll over the same, three or four note melody for days, if not weeks. And it took us years to write it, which is probably a good thing because we really put it under the microscope. And when we were finished, everyone was super happy with the songs. Although we did have a couple of songs extra, which now looking back could have fit on the album. But I
Was
think
that Saved and Circus, was it?
no, that was off the EP. So we always write two or three songs extra for every release, just in case something's not gelling on the album.
Yep.
Maybe a song when it goes to mixing comes back and it's not quite how we're hearing it. Like we always try to have a couple in reserve.
Mm.
But yeah, Saved and Circus, that was sort of written off the back of the EP. But bloody dog barking in the background. I knew he was going to do that too. I told him, I
It's
said,
the
you
same
sit there and be
Waiting
quiet.
for it.
Yeah, so when we actually got that mixed by Tim Palmer, who'd obviously done Pearl Jam and his list goes on and on, he was really hearing some very interesting dynamics in the music that we weren't hearing. But there's a depth in the album production and the mixing that I haven't heard on many albums. There's something in it. I can't put my finger on it specifically, but I always call it musical glue. It's like what's in between the frequencies of each of the instruments. There's this like negative space. For some reason, that really, gelled and glued the darkness in the album. And every time I hear that opening, that down, down, I get goosebumps. Even still today, 20 years later.
Yeah, yeah. It's just got such a special like mood and sound to it that I think is timeless 20 years later.
Absolutely masterpiece. Yeah.
I've got a
Was
lot of
yeah.
fond memories around that period as well from you guys coming down and playing the Sawtell Hotel, Coffs Harbour, and eventually to the RSL. And then as the album, I think, gained more traction, the venues I saw got bigger and bigger, and it sort of culminated to the big day out, I think, eventually.
Yeah.
And the momentum just seemed so huge around the release.
Yeah, man, that was a good time. I remember, so off the back of the EP, we got Big Day at 2002, which was amazing. And I still remember standing backstage, and and our tour manager at the time, Liam, I said, "How many people are out there?" Because we were first band on, and we knew it was going to be a hard sell. And he came back and he put his head down, and he was shaking. He's like, "Oh man, it's not looking good out there." So I was really disappointed. I was like, "Oh man, that really sucks." But I thought we're just going to go out and we're going to give it all we got, and we'll rip it up anyway. And then when I walked out, because I could hear the crowd noise from where we were backstage, I did not look out. I kept my eyes down and focused. I looked at the stairs up to the stage. As soon as I got to the top of it and put my foot on the stage, the crowd went absolutely bananas. And I looked out and all I could think was that bastard lied to me. He told me there was nobody out there. And it was huge.
Did you
And
dirty?
100%. And it was a
Yeah.
funny moment in time. I still remember it. It's one of the few times I think my dad ever said he loved me because I was on the phone and he goes, "Real proud of you, mate." I said, "Oh, thanks, Dad. That's great." He goes, "Love you." Anyway, see ya. And I was like, so I was like, wow, that's really cool. We're playing Big Day Out for the first time. The band was starting to get some traction. We had this great crowd. First band on in the morning at like 11 o'clock or whatever it was, or
Mm.
10:30, 11. And yeah, it kind of felt like something was happening. And then to have like some of the songs for Begins here in very broken sort of formats and early, riffs and bits and pieces and lyrical ideas scratched on, old piece of paper. It sort of felt like if we played our cards right, we could do something and be as important as we thought we could be in the Australian music industry.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting times. And then moving on to Into Begins here, and then we played Big Day at 2004, which was incredible. So it was kind of like, it seesawed off every release, which is fantastic. So we feel very privileged. We never took it for granted. It's always been really important to us to be as humble as we could be, to be as appreciative and respectful of the people that give us their time. And I think that's what we always based the band on, was to deliver exactly what we felt we wanted to and needed to. As music's a great vehicle for emotion but to hear the stories coming back from people saying it was the soundtrack to the summer when they were like 18, and they went to schoolies, or they were hanging out with their best friends, and it was like driving down the coast and whatever. That stuff, that means a lot. That really hits home. That's good.
Yeah, and I could really, I could tell that you had that humbleness about you would always come out either before or after you played and chat to us, and that was just always something special. I thought around then, back then especially, it seemed like bands just weren't really doing that. I don't know where they were hiding, just all sitting backstage, but you guys were out there, and so thankful for the support that you had. Yeah,
100%. It's funny, some people say, oh, it's really it's hard to get certain signatures from certain musicians, like, maybe say like Maynard or someone like that. And if you've got one, it's like rare as hen's teeth. Whereas ours, you can, everyone's
I think I've got it 4 times.
Mass production.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? That really came about because we could see that really engaging with the crowd and also being personable and accessible worked for us. For other bands, maybe not. They might get swamped and never get out of the away from the merch desk or past the stage, which is great for some people, especially for singers. It's hard to keep talking, so I actually got a shirt made up saying, no, I haven't lost my voice, I'm just resting it, because I got asked a million times, did you lose your voice tonight? I'm like, no.
yeah, I remember you'd walk around doing your exercises.
100%. That's it.
And you just be like, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, so it's hard as you get older, obviously, and the rigors of singing such vocal heavy and intense music, it starts to wear, like I've got pretty extensive vocal cord damage just from wear and tear and overuse. But my ENT guy said to me, he's going, mate, you're lucky you can still talk. So I was like, I'll take that as a win.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it does
still
change.
Doing your thing. Yep.
Yeah, man, it does change as you get older. So being out in the crowd isn't always as easy as it could be. Plus, like with people having the flu and still coming out, you got to kind of, wrap yourself in cotton wool to some degree. But that's just part of being professional as well, because we want to put on the best show that we can night after night, and it definitely gets harder as you go through.
Yeah, man. Yeah. This tour that you're doing, are you playing the whole album in full?
Yes, front to back. We've never played Without Wings live, ever. So that's...
Yeah,
right, okay.
I was going to say, I thought I'd never seen Overwhelmed live, and I wasn't sure whether it was because of the subject matter of that song, but was that a particularly difficult song to perform live?
No, I think we just kind of fell out of love with it. I think there's songs that you just gravitate towards and that just work really well in a live set. Some songs are not, they don't have that sort of coherence to the rest of the set. So because we kind of build the set in emotional sort of stages. Do you know what I mean? We want a roller coaster. We want it up and down and bring everyone down, then back up, throw in
like a journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And throw in a few curveballs here and there, but also we have to be mindful to give each musician a slight rest at different times. Do you know what I mean? Some songs are, and also the emotional value as well. Like that song's got some pretty heavy meaning for me personally, lyrics wise. Not that we've ever shied away from that, but I think the main reason is we just kind of fell out of love with it pretty soon after it was recorded. And there's always a track like that. I think on Amargo, it's this year. We just didn't really feel like it worked live. I was certainly struggling with singing it, in the middle to the end of the set. And we just sort of put that on the back burner. And then we don't, no one really wants to play it. But it's funny because you'll always get, a fan or two coming up saying, hey, man, we've never heard you play this particular song. But yeah, we're going to play it in full front to back. We've got some great surprises. There's going to be a little bit of extra musicianship put on into it. There's going to be we're going to extend some parts. We're going to put in. I think there's a demo floating around of one of the songs that we're actually kind of going to hark back to and like extend intros and outros and middle sections, and we're going to embrace our full progginess. And
Exciting.
yeah, man, it's good. I was freaking out though when the boys said, "Yeah, we're going to do it in full." I was like, "Crap, man! I haven't sung Without Wings since I was 27 years old. That's just
Yeah.
wild." I've
Better get the practice in now.
yeah, man. It's funny. Actually, after this, I'm going into the band room. So
Yeah, nice.
we've been practicing every week for the last month, I think.
Yeah, cool.
And I've got all the tracks loaded up into bloody Logic there, so I'm gonna give them a whirl as well. A bit of home practice.
Yeah, awesome, man. Dean, do you have another big into question?
Not really a question, but I'm just I guess, is it for you? You've obviously got the tour next year, and I can see that Brisbane and Melbourne have added extra shows. Are you stoked that the demand, the support's still there? 20 years later for this record.
Hugely surprised. Actually, that was something that was tossed around the band room. I think Kurt was the worry wart and just going, are we going to have? Is there going to be enough people interested in Begins
Yep.
Here? And it's funny because Amargo was our biggest seller and also probably more commercially acclaimed than Begins Here. We kind of got the tag that we were metal, which we've never been able to shake. I had a very interesting chat with a couple of music directors for big commercial radio stations, and I asked them the question point blank. I just said, "How come you're not playing us?" And they
Yep.
said, "You're too metal." And I just said, "Have you heard Foo Fighters? Have you listened to them at all? You
Yeah,
play them ad
exactly.
nauseum every hour on the hour." And I said, "Grinspoon, you play Metallica, all the rest." I was like, "So, no, you're too metal." I was like, "Oh, it's interesting." And that's something that's I've had a real be in my bonnet about for a long time, is the lack of support from Australian commercial radio to
Hmm.
play Australian artists during the 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. It's kind of
Yep.
like we get shunted down the back at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's just so interesting to me that in a country so rich and such a depth of musical talent, that like only up 1% see the light of day in those areas, in those arenas. And even to a large degree, like even Triple J, who supported alternate music so much in the 90s into the 2000s, have just gone and over this
Oh,
way.
massively. They're so different these days,
Yeah.
Triple J, and it's a bit of a shame for sure.
Oh, 100%, especially
Yeah.
for, for all bands, but especially for
Hmm.
young emerging bands that are playing alternate styles of music. I mean, we are now really in a sub genre, which is really interesting, which it wasn't, it was quite in vogue back in the day. And especially when you've got, trailblazing bands like Parkway Drive, who are just killing it everywhere.
Mm.
Like Amity's doing well. You've got, they're doing the the Aussie Invasion sort of tour in
Yeah,
America through the
awesome.
moment, and getting great reviews. Alpha Wolf, and there's so many so many great bands, and we're just not hearing them on commercial radio. I mean, you
Yep.
don't have to go like super heavy screamo stuff, but
Mm.
yeah. So that's
It's
always
also that, and it's also the fact that there's no real heavy festivals in this country anymore, which is a massive shame.
it
You've got good
really.
things. You've got good things. It's once a year, but there's nothing else really for us.
Yeah, man, and it's
Yeah.
sad because when Soundwave went under, that was sad, and also, what I'm glad Notfest came out, so that was good.
Oh,
So yeah, it
that
was,
was awesome. Yep.
and circling back around, it was definitely a surprise to see the demand and the support, especially for knowing that we're going to play Begins Here from front to back, which is amazing, and it's certainly shut Curdy up in the band room pretty quick because we were like, "Hey, how's that looking?" And he was stoked.
Take that.
Yeah, he was so happy.
Yeah.
He was, but I think sometimes we instinctively lower our expectations so that we're pleasantly surprised, because sometimes when we've gone, "Oh, this thing's going to sell like hotcakes, this will be amazing," it's gone shit. So, yeah, we try to keep our expectations in check.
Mm.
And I got to be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about this tour. So I've got to, yeah, nail it, That's all I keep thinking to myself. Just got to do it. Got to get fit. Stop drinking. Don't party. Just concentrate on the album.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I bought a ticket to the first date at the Forum, so I'm very looking forward to the show.
Yeah, man, you're going to get a real pleasant surprise. I think it's going to be pretty good. We're talking production. Our lighting guy's the lighting guy that does lights for Parkway Drive, and he's one of the best in the world. So he's cooking up something pretty good. I haven't chatted to him of late, but I know that he will be pulling out all the stops. I was saying to the guys,
Awesome,
I'm like,
man, so excited.
yeah, I was like, can we do some pyros, some CO2 cannons, or some confetti stuff? And the guy's like, no. I was like, okay, great. I thought that would be cool.
That could be the Imago tour.
Yeah, everybody's doing it,
Yeah,
man. Everyone's
literally.
doing it. Yeah, the sparkers and stuff. I thought that was
Yeah.
I don't think
big
we're going to
bang.
go that far.
Oh, you definitely could pull it off. Definitely.
100%. I think the production costs would blow out largely.
That's true too. Yeah.
Overheads, yep, makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. Got to keep it. Just make it cool enough, but yeah, don't blow out the budget.
Without being over the top. Yeah, of course.
And that's something else too. Like we'd love to do all that crazy shit. We'd love to have like big screens and playing really cool, like the clips playing to the clips and having like fan art and all that sort of stuff. But it's just it does come down to economics, unfortunately. I mean, in this current climate too, like we know ticket prices are getting more expensive, but the venues are putting up their prices. We know that it's so tough, like merch and stuff. We try to keep that under control. Like I saw one band, not mentioning any names, they had a T-shirt for $80. I'm like, a T-shirt for $80.
Wow.
I'm like, come on, man.
It used to be a hoodie.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
Literally,
I'm like, so look, if you see our merch start creeping up around that area, you come and talk to me and I'll get you a discount.
Will do.
Right? Don't tell anyone. Don't tell
Well,
anyone.
we won't.
But here's something else too. This is interesting. I wanted to touch on because people gave us a bit of a ribbing. A few people, squeaky wheels, I call them. They're the people that like to comment on social media platforms, and we copped a bit of shit for Beautiful Mind film clip, which was people said we ripped off Tool, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, it's so similar, like in a lot of ways. But that was made by a film student at uni who had that clip, and someone saw it and said, hey guys, that'd be perfect for Beautiful Mind. And we really wanted to give the guy a go because we thought it was really cool and we loved it. And that's an original idea. He didn't rip that off anyone.
Yeah.
But yes, there are definite similarities to Tool, especially off the Anima and and the claymation and all that sort of stuff.
That sort of stop motion.
Yeah, the stop motion claymation stuff, which is really cool, man. And I still love the clip.
It works so well. It's great. Yeah,
it's amazing. And we really wanted to get away from putting ourselves in clips, even though our record company at the time said you have to be in every clip. But every clip we were in, I hate. I can't stand it. I've got to tell you, man, Phoenix clip is I would like that thing wiped from the internet if I could. It is so bad. My acting in it is horrible.
I think that's when the acting started to come out.
Oh, dude, it's horrible. And you know what? It's so funny. On a message board, I think someone said, hey, Clint, just stick to singing. I'm like, you're right. I'll do that.
You watch the views are going to go up now.
For sure.
See, that was my secret intention, but don't tell anyone, all right? That's it.
Sneaky.
But I think, taking the piss out of ourselves has always been something that we were never afraid to do. And I think you can't take yourself too seriously because especially in Australia, it's very tall poppy. People don't like idiots and they don't like conceited wankers. It's hard out. That's it. The minute you start to push into that territory, people are going to shut down and turn away from you. And I think that then, that folds back into staying accessible, staying humble, staying, personable in every kind of way, keeping the music real. It's got to have real content, real feeling, real emotion. And that's what we built the band around. It's very visceral. You can really feel it when it hits you. You know what I mean? The first time you hear like those first chords in Crave, like it just, that's how I feel it every time. I can hear it in my head. Like, you know what I mean? That's just, yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah, it's really good shit, man. I love it. I'm very proud of that album. And I think it's probably some of my best lyrics ever. And it's certainly, oh man, but I'll tell you, recording that thing was punishing because I'd do like 3 takes of each song fully. And then
Yeah,
we'd go
wow.
back and fix up little bits that I didn't quite get right. So, doing like bloody the chorus of Perception Twin and the middle section of Consequence and oh man, I'm sitting at the end of it, I could barely talk. And I think, just being 20, something years late
Oh,
20s
yeah.
and just full of
Yep.
beans, you just keep going.
Totally.
Yeah. So the
What
work
was
ethic
the
was definitely good.
and what was the whole, like, from start to finish? How long did that record take to make?
I think we did it in like 3 chunks.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, people have said, how come 1 Second of Insanity sounds very different vocally, like tonality wise? And I said, because
Yep.
I was sick. I had a really bad
Ah,
flu. I had a
Really?
blocked nose. Yeah, I had a blocked
yeah,
nose. If you
right.
listen to it, go back and listen to it. So
Will do.
compared to
Yeah.
say Perception Twin to 1 Second or even Crave. So here's another thing too. I was so sick. I still did the recorded 1 Second. Whilst I was sick, I went home, came back. Dave, our manager slash producer, was like, mate, we have to get Crave done. So I came in, and it's lucky that 4 weeks before I did a demo session of Crave. So that's what you're hearing. You're hearing my demo vocals for Crave.
Yeah, wow.
Because I was so sick I couldn't sing it, and he was like, mate, we have to move on, we have to get this finished, we've got scheduling. So there's 2 lyrics in there that are actually what I call slide lyrics, where I was actually going to say a certain word but kind of fluffed it, and we left it in. So there you
Yeah,
go.
what part's that?
I'm going back.
It's at the end of the chorus, where you'll hear me say, oh, now I can't think of it. No, it's
On the spot, yeah.
it'll sound like I'm saying one time won't die. Hold on when it feels like and we want you and I'll be. No, that's all right. It's in the chorus anyway. So I think it's in the second lot of choruses.
And
So
that ended up
there's
sticking as the chorus.
Yeah, we didn't fix it up and we didn't take it out. And later on, I was reading back and I was going, holy shit, man, that's not the right lyric. So I kind of fluffed it and made it the lyric, which is a
There you
lot of
go.
fun. It's pretty cool, actually. It worked out well. But that
Which
so
are now
Craig,
the lyrics that everyone's singing back to you now.
yeah, so it's a blend between one time and won't die. I think you'll hear it when you go back and have a listen to it. You'll hear it and you go, there it is. So
Yeah.
Crave vocals are the demos. Luckily, I blitzed it on the day. If I do say so myself, I had a really good time in the studio and we got a pretty good run. And we just edited it and put it all together. And 1 Second of Insanity, I was sick. So I had a really bad cold and flu. And that's what, damn you, make up your mind. That's what it sounded like that. But the rest was
stayed
fine.
in. That's
yeah,
awesome.
We kept it in. And it's interesting because I had a talk to a guy down the Gold Coast one night just before it came out. And I said, I'm really scared, man, about how people are going to take it. As you do before you release an album, there's always that slight bit of, trepidation where you're like, is it going to go over well? Are people going to, hate it, love it, whatever? I think when you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to all opinions. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't make music, so they don't understand, the intricacies and what you go through to actually get the final product out.
Totally.
And that's why a lot of musos will, pat each other on the back and go, yeah, good on you, man. That was great. Wicked. Whereas you'll get some people that'll say, that was shit, man. I liked, that's to quote Gurge, I like your old stuff better than your new stuff. But we can't keep having the same conversation with ourselves over and over again, because then it becomes formulaic. All the passion and the emotion and the reality and the realness, that visceral nature of the songs drain out of it, because then it's just paint by numbers. Do you know what I mean? So we're constantly trying to push the boundaries. We're constantly trying to excite ourselves. And that's basically what it comes down to, is that we don't want to write the same thing, 300 times. We want to challenge it. And that's why when even off the new album with So Tired and Nil by Mouth, there was people going, what is this? Do you know what I mean? We're like, but 1 Second of Insanity is this almost very similar format.
They could almost be played next to each other, in the same set and sound like it blends in, I think.
100% for me too.
Totally,
and that's kind of where I was going with it. I wanted to hark back to, like, I wanted a couple of songs to resonate off each album, because I really wanted to engage all the fans through all of the time of the band. And that's why we got 4. That's how that came together. Because we took old demos, like straight off the back of, like, we had oh God, we had heaps of songs off the back of Final Conversation that didn't get used.
Yep.
And we had a few songs that were like left after, or riffs that were left after Imago. We had 2 songs that were left after Begins Here, or riffs. And we just kind of cannibalized it and took all the best bits and then started forming songs after that, which is really exciting because even when people go, I don't really like that. I'm like, man, that was from Imago. That's the album you said you loved. You know what I mean? And that's really cool. We had that great back catalogue of material to draw from, and it kept the continuity in my mind anyway. It kept the continuity. It was very Butterfly Effect to me, and that's something else too. When you put those 4 guys in a room, it's us. You know what I mean? So
end of the
whichever way
day it
you
is,
spin
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And I think, and it's one of those we keep saying time and time again, it's not until that album maybe sits more so in the past with your other works that people look back and reflect on and go, oh yeah, no, that one ranks about here now. And,
Yeah,
and it's always
100%,
compared
man.
to your newer stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, what, there's like, we're only human. We're definitely not perfect. And so there's songs that we get to the end of and go, it's not really where we want to be at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're constantly analyzing the songs. I mean, even after Begins Here got back from mixing, like Benny was shattered. He was sitting there. He just goes, man, that's not the drum sound I wanted. That's not
Yeah,
it. But
right.
now when you sit back 20 years later, I say, how do you feel about the drums now? He goes, oh, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but because you have this preconceived notion of what the song should sound like, it's sometimes it's difficult to release that and get that out of your head, and get out of your own way more or less, and let other people that are experts in their field, say like of engineering and mixing, do their job. And it's got to, and that's why it's so important to have the right people, not only around you but in your pushing in the same direction, because it can really derail a band quite quickly, especially like management. You get the wrong manager, bad management, you're dusted, man. That's it. Unless you've just got that intestinal fortitude that keeps you going. So I've seen so many great bands fall to the wayside because they had bad management. There was some infighting. They weren't, the old, we had creative differences. Whatever. Yeah, work through that shit, man. Use that shit for, use it for fodder. Use it to inspire and push you forward. I mean, that's what we did. We hated each other. I couldn't stand being in the room with Kurt, and vice versa. He hated it. But we still put up with each other, for a large chunk. And we were, this close to each other all the time. So that's what I would say. And especially to young bands, like, it is difficult. It's a difficult career path, man. There's we just don't get the love that I feel we deserve, especially in this country for some reason. I've been to America. I was about to start a band in America before we got the Butters back together, and the difference and the love that they get, even like mediocre bands, it's amazing. So I'm like, we just don't celebrate our musicians like other countries do, and we don't look after them, we don't support them. So so if someone out there can please become a music director at a major commercial radio station, start playing us, that'd be great.
Yeah. What can people, like, as fans, what can fans do to sort of give the love back more? Is it buying more merch, more streams, more physical purchases?
Man, you know what? I think the fans are already tapped out, to be honest. Like, people are buying, what they can to support the bands that they love. I know they are, like, but so merch, a t-shirt, you can't download a t-shirt. And that's the thing. Like, that money goes direct to the band.
Unless you go into NFTs or something.
Yeah, that's it, man. But like physical copies, like CDs and LPs, like we're even talking about going back to cassettes, like just for shits and giggles. Do you know what I mean? Just for
That's
fun.
kinda
it's
cool,
another
yeah.
collector's item. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
buying any physical thing you can, going in and to see the band, that's always great. And that's all you can do, really. Like, even petitioning radio stations doesn't work, man. Falls on deaf ears. You know what I mean? And it's I was more surprised that the music director of that said commercial radio station had heard of us. So and I was standing in the room. I happened to be there, was through something else, but I wasn't afraid to hit them up and ask the question. But but they can spin it any way they want. Oh, it's too metal. Oh, it's not commercial enough. Oh, it's this, it's that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just can't get my head around how the same 4 or 5 bands, the same 4 or 5 songs get played every single day. Do you know what I mean? And I just sit there and I go, what about some new stuff? What about some new bands? You know what I mean?
There's plenty of space for it. Yeah.
Oh man, it's just like, yeah, let's I don't know. It's this the heavy reliance on big American bands and the same 5, classic Aussie rock bands, and it's great for them, but you know what I mean? Try someone new.
But yeah, it's
Anyway.
like you're right. It's always the same. It's always the same. 4 or 5 bands that just get that radio. They're always there. But you're right. Why not give someone else a crack? Because perfect example. There's plenty of bands out there that deserve to be there.
But you know what, man? Something that I realized back in the day, people used to actively talk about bands, swap tapes, all that sort of stuff. They'd actively listen to the radio, trying to catch their favorite song with a old cassette recorder.
Mhm.
Now we have this amazing technology to access any music anywhere in the world at any second, any tick of the clock, and people are
Yep.
still being spoon-fed what they should be listening to. And you know what I mean? Which is mind-blowing to me. And also remembering that big record companies have a vested interest to push their artist. I mean, that's what happens. And like, when you're talking about the arias and stuff, like people say, oh, how come we don't hear this, and how come they didn't get a nomination? It's like, because it's the same people in the same ears nominating the same shit. It's the same. It's the same. Do you know what I mean?
So mate, like the metal category of the arias, give me a break.
yeah, that was eyebrow raising, I should say, to us. Like, we just sat there going, really? That, and again, there's such a plethora of great Australian music being made every day, and being released out there. So that's what I'd say. Coming back to that, that's my whinge. That's my rant over. That's about as crazy as I get. But yeah, supporting.
But it's absolutely justified, man.
Oh, 100%, man, 100%. And look, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking just about us. I'm talking about every other band out there that deserves a crack. You know what I mean? That could be doing amazing things if they were given the chance to present themselves, to the masses. And you would see, like venues full. Like it's a cascade effect. You start getting these bands on radio. They book a tour. The venues start packing out. The venues do better. The merch companies start producing more T-shirts. The band does better. The band gets a chance to go overseas and shop Australian music to the world.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins, man. The crowds, people have something to do on the weekend. It's that massive cascade effect. And it breaks my heart that we're not supporting bands through those avenues, through commercial radio especially. And but yeah, so if you want to support a band, buy anything physical. That's how you do it. Physical ticket, LPs, merch, any of that sort of stuff.
I make the effort every time I go to a Butters gig or whatever to buy a shirt or something, because I love my merch. So I'm trying to help out there any way possible.
Thanks, Dino. You're the man. I love your work. Don't go changing.